G'day guys and welcome back to the channel. This is a video that I really enjoyed doing last year, and surprisingly I actually picked some of the results. The Broncos beating the Sharks, I believe. Raiders defeating the Rabbitohs was another one I picked. But for this year, once again, 2023 NRL season, I'm going to predict every single NRL team biggest upset of the year.
Subscribe to Entertain House.
Let's begin with a team that was dominant through most of the 2022 season, pretty much just threw away their chance towards the end of playing finals, fought around the top 4, fought around the top 6, can definitely match up against some of those bigger teams. That's a competitive game against the Storm throughout the year. But the Brisbane Broncos, for mine, are going to be lower on the ladder than the North Queensland Cowboys. It's a rivalry game. And just to add some spice to it, I'm going to say that the Brisbane Broncos in round 23 will beat the Cowboys up there in Townsville. Next up in round number 19 at Accor Stadium, a home game for the Bunnies, who have a great record against the Bulldogs. But I just think the Bulldogs have built a nice team that can compete, get a job done, and potentially, if Damien Cook makes Origin team, this could be around Origin time as well. You could be without Jai Arrow. So I'm going to say that the Bulldogs are going to defeat the Rabbitohs on a Saturday night game in round 19. Next up, one of the most dominant teams in the NRL in 2022, the surprise packet, who obviously made the top 4, the North Queensland Cowboys. Now they will host they will be at Magic Round against the Roosters for a Roosters home game on Sunday afternoon. And the Roosters are going to have a great side in 2023. They're going to be right up there as one of those sides in the finals. And I actually think that the Cowboys, with the home fans up there in Brisbane, will get the job done against the Sydney Roosters. They haven't really been able to beat them in Sydney for a while. So I think this advantage in Queensland of a sort is going to help them. And I'm tipping the Cowboys to win at Magic Round. With the Dolphins yet to play a side in the NRL, it was very hard to pick who they're going to upset. And look, I think you could argue a lot of people have the Dolphins as a wooden spooner. I am going to go with round 15, a Friday night in Manly, and Tom Trbojevic will be back at Manly. So a full-strength Manly side to be defeated by the Dolphins. I just think this is a game where they can travel down to Four Pines Park and pick up a win in the season. Things definitely aren't looking good for the Dragons in 2023, but I reckon at Wollongong, at home, against the brand new NRL side, round 5, they are going to defeat the Dolphins. I know, not too much of an upset there. This is the one I'm going with, though. Round 5, St. George Illawarra to pick up a much-needed W at the time against the new NRL Dolphins. Next up, let's talk about the Parramatta Eels, who obviously on their day can beat the best team in the NRL. I'm talking about the Penrith Panthers, but on their day they can also keep the drought going. But I'm going to go to round 24. They have a great record in Brisbane against the Broncos, but that's been at Suncorp Stadium. Now you take into account that they're adding the Gabba due to, I believe, the FIFA Women's World Cup. And I reckon this Friday night, round 24, that the Parramatta Eels are going to defeat the Broncos at the Gabba. You got to love two brothers who are both great dummy halves going at it. I'm talking about Blake Brayley and Jaden Brayley. We're going to see that in round 12 at 3 o'clock in Coffs Harbour. So no advantage for either team, but the Sharks obviously have had home games there for a while now. But here you go. Bold take of the year. The Newcastle Knights are going to defeat the Cronulla Sharks at Coffs Harbour in round 12. Book this. Can the Penrith Panthers continue their dominance that they have in this NRL last few seasons? Well, I think they can. And in round 15, it's going to be a very tough game against the Sydney Roosters at Allianz Stadium. The Roosters with their new stadium for their first official season with it. I think the Panthers will get the dub here in this game. Well, it is the South Sydney Rabbitohs now, and what do they do every season? Pretty much besides last year, but I think they had their excuses. They knock off the Sydney Roosters towards the end of the regular season. They will be at home at Accor, but the Roosters are such a dominant side in 2023. This Friday night 8 o'clock game, which I will absolutely try and be at, I think that the Rabbitohs will upset. In probably the biggest upset of the entire NRL season, the Canberra Raiders in round 5 at home are going to defeat the back-to-back premiers, the Penrith Panthers. Book it. It's going to happen. Upset of the season. The Raiders, who aren't going to have the greatest of seasons, are going to knock off this football team. The Panthers are definitely going to start the season well, but this is going to be their first loss in round 5 at Canberra. Trent Robinson looks to give the Bondi Boys a huge NRL season, and look, they've been very good against this team in recent years, but I still consider it as an upset. I'm going to go with the Sydney Roosters to head down to PointsBet Stadium, Shark Park, on a Friday night and knock off the Sharks in that game. Next up, it is the Manly Sea Eagles, who, again, they can really turn up on their day. And this is a team that seems to, they trouble them. And I reckon at home, the Manly Sea Eagles in round 7 are going to defeat the Melbourne Storm. I think the Storm definitely in for a good season. And I think it's a huge upset. They've done it before. Why can't they do it again? Well, lucky for me, I will be in LA on the 10th of March, so I won't have to see the Cronulla Sharks upset the Parramatta Eels. That's right, the Sharks are going to come to CommBank Stadium and they're going to pick up a big win over the Eels in round 2. It's going to be a funny old season for the Eels, but this is not a game that I see us winning. I think a lot of people will have the Sydney Roosters higher up on the ladder than the Melbourne Storm. But in round 6, I think that the Melbourne Storm at home, Amy Park, can defeat this juggernaut Roosters team that we're expecting to see. So I'm going to go with the upset here, being the Storm to defeat the Roosters in round 6. In round 10 at Magic Round, I am once again going to go with the Parramatta Eels to get upset, this time by the Gold Coast Titans at Suncorp. I won't be at Magic Round, it's very unfortunate, but I'm going to think that Parramatta is going to lose this one. Haven't had the best record up there at Magic Round. I think they're 2-2 or 1-2, but yeah, I think the Titans might beat us in this game. Next up is the New Zealand Warriors, who will have plenty of games at home, so you can probably say that those will be the upsets, but I think it's important to win on the road. So I'm going to say that the Warriors are going to come down to GIO Stadium, Canberra, like they did, I think it was 2020 or 2021. I think it might have been 2020. We're going back now, but it was a cracking game of football where Roger Tuivasa-Sheck scored a try on the wing. I remember that. But I'm going to say that the Warriors of round 15 knocking off the Canberra Raiders in an away game. And last but not least, who doesn't love some good old-fashioned revenge? Well, the Cowboys don't have a good record at Leichhardt Oval, and I think that the Tigers have a much better team, much better roster, and they're going to beat them at Leichhardt in round 12. But guys, that's it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know who you think the biggest upset will be in 2023, and I'll see you guys later.